listening to the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing in Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Brit, and I'm here today with Ashley Cowles, founder and blogger at thesmalltownfoodie.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, Ashley.
Hi, Brit. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about how to explain how Ashley and I know each other, and it's really weird. So buckle up. Let me tell you how this all worked out. This is the very first time Ashley and I are talking to each other, really face to face. Other than that, we've only ever emailed. And I found out about Ashley through a client of mine a few months ago. He was running a contest asking for bloggers, chefs, people in the food industry to submit recipes to be a part of his product's recipe book. And I was involved. I was designing the recipe book, designing it, making it pretty. And so I spent a bunch of hours putting this thing together after all of the contestants added in their recipes. And I came across Ashley's recipe. She was one of the people that had submitted a recipe for the contest. And I came across her blog, of course, as part of putting the book together. I had her link and I clicked over because it was just catchy. The Small Town Foodie. I'm from a small town. I thought, I want to see what this is about. So I clicked over to her website. And long story short, I followed her on every single social media platform that I possibly could because I just loved everything. And I found out she's also from Pennsylvania, right? So yeah. So and then from there, I've been following her on Instagram and loving not only her posts and her recipes, but I get your recipes to my email, and I watch your Insta stories, and I'm just like, this girl is just killing it. I love her.
Thank you.
I just love her. So with all that said, I am so pumped to get to chat with you today, get some insight into your blog, into your industry, into the strategy of not only your blog, but your life. We're going to talk about that a little bit and what makes it all tick. So Ashley, are you ready to jump in?
I definitely am.
Okay, so let's do this. All right, Ashley. So this conversation is going to be a little different from the ones that we're typically used to hearing on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. And that's because your blog, The Small Town Foodie, is not your business.
Correct.
It's a blog. You are not monetizing it as it is right now. It's beautiful and it's so well done.
Thank you.
But it's not technically your business. So with that kind of prefaced in there, tell me about how you earn your living.
Sure. So I have a full-time job. I work at a Chamber of Commerce here. It's based out of Oil City, Pennsylvania. My title is program manager, and I help with everyday chamber stuff, but I actually, my main two areas I work with, I help with our young professional group. So it's people under 40. I help them plan events and with their communications. And then we have this new initiative we just launched. It's called Be Here. And being a small town, everyone, we had the oil industry, hence the name Oil City. Mm-hmm. And so the whole area, once the oil industry left, a lot of people thought, there's nothing good here, there's no jobs here. It continues to this day. So Be Here is all about how we can really get people to have more positive attitudes, recognize the opportunities here, because we have a lot of great things going on here. And my job, I would say, is mostly communications. So I went to school for communications, and so I do social media, website, I speak places, I do writing, things like that. So besides my Chamber of Commerce job, I do a little freelance work on the side as well. So there's it's a business management consultant here in the same area, and they have clients there, and I do freelance work for them. So I've done websites and press releases and things like that, and I do it for another nonprofit as well. So my living now is all communications type work.
Interesting. Okay. And so, and we've talked a little bit, you love your full-time job. Like,
Yes,
it's a
I
really
do.
great fit for you.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And I worked here for 3 summers as an intern, so I have a special connection here too.
Yeah. So, and it's been a part of your life for a while. So, and you're loving it. That's
Yep.
okay. So bring me into where the blog came in, because I
Okay.
see your from following you, I see your passion in that regard as well. So tell me how the blog started and what it is to you today.
Okay. And it was probably my sophomore year of college. I started getting interested in eating healthy and working out. It wasn't really the right mindset. Had kind of the diet mentality, counting calories and working out too hard, basically. And at that same time, I lived in the dorm room, so I couldn't cook as much. But I started following bloggers. So I would just sit in my dorm room. I would try to cook as much as possible in our little kitchen there on our floor, but it wasn't really easy to do. So I started really getting interested in healthy living, and I slowly learned that healthy living doesn't necessarily mean restriction and working out like crazy. There's a lot of mental health in it too, and you should really focus on what your body needs. And I'm still learning this to this day. But so then junior year, my first semester, I still lived in a dorm, so it was difficult again. And but I was still just getting even more interested in cooking and food and things like that. And then second semester of my junior year, I studied abroad in Italy. So it was amazing. The food was amazing, which made me even more interested in good whole food and cooking. And I took a cooking class there at night and things like that. And so finally, senior year, I had my own apartment, and I started cooking all the time and posting pictures and on my personal account, and people would come and say, hey, you need to start a blog. Hey, you need a website for this. And so I finally decided, why the heck not? So I remember it took a while for me to figure out what to call it, and it's really is difficult to learn. I knew WordPress from my job and an internship I did in school, so I had a good idea, but like figuring out the theme and all of I did a logo, which worked out because I took a class where we had to make a logo anyway, so I just did it for my blog.
Nice.
So I slowly was learning, and I finally came up with a name and figured out how the heck to get hosting and the domain name and all that. And then it kind of went from there. I slowly learned. I've gotten definitely better if you look in the past blog posts, the photos as well as what I write about. I'm slowly learning what people are interested in, even the consistency with recipe development and just making sure it's easy to follow. So it kind of started with my interest in food, and then slowly just turned into me wanting to share my own recipes.
Oh, that's so cool. So savvy of you. I love those stories when it's just like, you just kind of pick it up and you piecemeal things together. I have a very similar story in how I figured out WordPress, how I figured out that marketing was kind of my thing, and it was just from like dabbling, maybe kind of needing a little creative outlet here and there.
Yeah. And my major, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say my major was communication studies with minors in public relations and marketing. So I was taking classes related to this. I really loved writing and social media and things like that. So this was kind of my creative outlet, my way to take this, but also take my passion of food and cooking and healthy living and combine it all together.
Awesome. Okay. So now let's get back to the whole decision to continue to work your full-time job that you love and continue to put energy into your quote unquote creative outlet that is a beautiful blog. So, and a powerful, I don't want to just say beautiful. When I say beautiful, I mean, it's powerful as well. Right. It's just so good. So, and all that goes with it, you know, the social media and the emails and all of that. So tell me about the decision to keep it as a blog and not turn it into a business.
Sure. I was towards the beginning. I joined Facebook groups and a lot of I looked up a lot of resources to help me with the blog itself, and I was kind of in that whole comparison trap where I was constantly stressed out because I wasn't making money, and I was trying to find the time to make money. When I started, I was in my senior year of college. There was no way I had time to do even more than I was doing. So I constantly just felt crappy about it, about how I wasn't making money. I could be doing more, and I was comparing myself to a lot of others. And everywhere that I would see resources, I would see testimonials about how I quit my corporate job or how you can quit your job. And then this was more recently, once I was hired full time about a year ago, I started full time here at the chamber, and I finally decided, like, I don't want to quit my full time job. I would always like, it was like people were trying to convince me to do that, but which is great for people who don't like their job, but it just didn't apply to me. So it was probably just this year, I finally decided, well, being in the health blog field, I follow a lot of other blogs, and I've learned a lot about self-care and mental health and all that, and I was stressing myself out. I knew I didn't have enough time to do more, to reach out to clients, to work on sponsored posts or whatever. And so if I were to do that, a lot of my other priorities would kind of get pushed aside. And I love my community, and I love what I'm doing here, and I have family close, and I live with my boyfriend. We have a big garden, all kinds of stuff like that. So I finally just realized, stop stressing. You don't need to make money right now. When it's time, it'll be time.
Oh, man, I love that so much.
Thank you.
My gosh, I just love it. And it might surprise people because I have a very different story. Not that I hated my job, but I knew that I had to be my own boss. And so it may come off as, and you know, I'm interviewing a ton of entrepreneurs, right? Like that are making money from their businesses. And so it might come off as that's the answer. Like that's the answer to everybody. And it's not. Like I am right here to say it is not. And I think what you're outlining is the intentional decision to say no to more. And it's so refreshing. I think about if the listeners have listened through season 1 of the podcast, I think you and our podcast guest, Elizabeth Guerrero, would be BFFs because
I need to meet her.
Yeah, she had a similar kind of realization, honestly, as we were having our interview of like, you know what? I get that there could be more, but in this season of my life, I am intentionally deciding that I am not going to continue to strive for more. I am going to allow myself this season of my life. And it's just such a breath of fresh air. And I know that episode was such a hit. They all were. I mean, they were all so good, but I just remember that like release of pressure off of so many people after listening to that. And I think that this one will be just the same. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
And I do want to say I definitely struggle because I kind of feel like I'm in the same mindset. Like I want to be my own boss, but I love my job and I love what I'm doing. So I'm kind of just waiting to see what comes next. My job is grant funded. So we have to reapply every year for a grant to keep me here. So I'm kind of trying to see, we're going to work hard to keep me here, but if something happens, I have this to fall back on. And I do struggle because I have so many ideas. I have clients that I want to reach out to. I have ideas. I really want to focus on my local community. And so I have ideas of different things I could do here, restaurants I could work with, or there's a place downtown that sells like gourmet cooking items, and they teach classes on beer and winemaking and things like that. And they've mentioned, I brew my own kombucha, so they've mentioned coming in and teaching about that, or and I could do cooking classes there, but I just have to be patient and wait until, because I know that I won't have time for that, and I will just be stressed if I do that. So
Yeah.
it's a struggle, but I know I do feel that relief knowing it'll happen when it'll happen.
Yes. Oh, I love you so much. How old are you,
Thank
Ashley?
you. I'm 23.
Yeah, I knew you were a young one. Not that I'm that much older, but I know. I, I'm refreshed, and I think so many of our listeners will be refreshed to hear that perspective from such a young girl, because that mindset is going to take you in very intentional places in your future. And I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for you to have that mindset already.
Thank you so
You're going
much.
to do so well, and you're going to provide exactly what you're meant to provide to the people you're meant to provide it to in the exact right time. I love it.
Thank you.
So let's switch over to a little bit more of the technical side of blogging, because
Okay.
being that you've built this and being just like a savvy, scrappy kid in college, just trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you point someone if they are thinking about, let's just say they maybe have a full-time job and they've been thinking about just starting a blog and they're not really sure where to start? Where would you point them to?
I would tell them to first find blogs you like and figure out what you like about them.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of bigger blogs, they don't have the time to answer every single email with little questions about what theme to use and things like that, but just kind of getting an idea of what you want first. I'll throw some names out. I loved, which they're both very popular blogs, Fit Foodie Finds and The Healthy Maven. They're friends, and both of them, I've followed one and I found the other, and both of them I've followed along this whole way, and I just love what both of them are doing. So they were kind of my inspiration, which I've gotten a lot more favorite blogs now too. But and then I used a lot of resources. The two of them had the Blogger Project, which it's still a website up. I know they're not updating it as much, but they have all kinds of posts with tips, just how to find hosting and what themes are best and things like that. So that was really helpful. Georgie Morley with In It for the Long Run. I forget what their so that's another blog I like, but they had a similar website. Her and another blogger. I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name right now, but they had something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just all kinds of tips for starting a blog. And then I also joined the Blissful Bites community. I don't know if you are familiar with Nicole Culver. I listen to her podcast. I haven't gotten to listen to podcasts in forever. I need to start doing that on my commute to work again. But I listen to her podcast a lot, and a lot of them are just tips for food entrepreneurs or bloggers. And so I'm in her Facebook group too. So a lot of the time I'll just, if I have a question, you just post it. And she has a lot of great resources and classes, and she does a food entrepreneur summit and things like that. So I would say find those resources online and really build your community. There are a few bloggers who I've kind of noticed we grow together.
Mm-hmm.
One is Miss Allie's Kitchen, which she started her blog after mine, and she already quit her job full time, which was right for her. And she's doing great. And but I kind of have seen us evolve, and we've sent messages back and forth like, hey, what do you use for your Pinterest link on your blog? And there's a couple others who we've done that, and just building your community and actually just being authentic and meeting people, quote unquote meeting people, and finding those good resources and the good people who can help you out.
Okay, so in summary, you're looking for genuinely people that you like that are blogging. You're looking to people that have done it and learning from them. But you're also, and I love this little tip because I wouldn't have thought about this, you're also coming alongside people in your same boat and growing with them, which really speaks to that, the movement of community over competition, community in general, which is a huge part of the Marketing and Yoga Pants movement. It's supporting each other while supporting ourselves. And that's really great insight. I'm inspired by that. It's
thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And through all that, you have to remember, don't compare yourself to others, because I mean, a little bit of me, when I see bloggers like working with these great clients and things like that, I do get like a little jealous because I'm like, that's so awesome, I would love to do that. But I have to remember that they're not my competition. I shouldn't compare myself to them. They're doing what's right for them right now, and I know I'm capable of working with brands. It's just not the right time for me.
Yeah. How did you go through any, I'm just interested, any sort of process to identify those, they almost seem like core values or personal mission, to know, to kind of guide you, like, I get that that's okay for them, but for me, this is what I am firmly planted in. Did you have any kind of process that you went through that?
I think it just slowly, my mindset kind of just slowly evolved, and I don't know, I didn't come to like one big realization. I think at first, like I said, I was always thinking I need to make money and compare myself to others, and then I realized that was causing me a lot of stress. So I kind of took a step back and saw like what is important to me, and I started my blog because I wanted to share tips and recipes with people, especially those in small towns like me. I notice a lot here, especially since moving home, that there's a lot of people who just have no clue about just putting a recipe together, or different healthy foods, or they have like that whole diet mentality. And my goal is really just to help people, especially locally. So like once I realized that I'm doing that, my main audience is definitely friends and family and people I know from my general area where I live. That was kind of the process, because I took a step back, realized what my goal was. If I'm not making money right now, that's okay. I'm doing what I wanted to do, and again, the money will follow.
Right. And so it just really comes back to your why. Like, why did you start? And that whole self-care piece that so often can get just tossed out when we get distracted by other people and other competition. That's awesome. Tell me about, blogging. You're a food blogger, so there's a photography piece to it. There's a skill piece in being able to like actually cook, and make something not only taste good but look good too. And then there's this whole writing piece. So, did you think before you started your blog, did you identify yourself as a writer? Is that what took you to do the blog part, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, writing was definitely my first skill, because I wrote a lot during my internship at the chamber during the summer. With my degree, I took journalism classes. I took different other writing classes, and so I even was, while I was at school, writing for the chamber still, different articles for the newsletter and stuff like that. So definitely I started with writing. Photography slowly came. I used my iPhone probably for the first year, and then this Christmas I bought myself a nice camera. This is terrible to say, but I still only use it on auto. I still haven't gotten the time to learn the settings, but it's a great camera, so it takes amazing photos on auto. So that kind of came. The cooking has slowly gotten better too. I think the more that I really start to really focus on what ingredients I'm using and measurements, I slowly learn about how much, for example, like how much garlic to use in a recipe. The more that I measure it, the more I just get better at it. And I did cook a lot with my mom in the summers, and she helped me with that too. And so cooking gradually, I knew I could throw things together. I'm slowly getting better at realizing measurements and ratio and things like that. And the whole process, though, is interesting. I try to be consistent. I try to post one recipe a week.
Mhm.
That doesn't always happen. Sometimes I get two. And not just recipes. I've been doing a lot of gardening posts because I'm obsessed with gardening. And
Yes, you are. I
I'll,
love it.
I'll do some just random posts. Like I did one about food shaming and just whatever's on my mind. I want to do a nice mix of it. But for the recipes, I normally I get inspiration from a lot of other bloggers or recipes I see or family recipes. I'll make a recipe and not really write much down. I'll just see how it works. Sometimes that isn't good because then I'll forget all that I put into it.
Yeah.
So usually it takes about 3 times making a recipe before I post it. I'll just make it, see what works out. The second time I'll measure everything, write everything down, see what works out. And then the third time I'll make any adjustments, and then I follow the whole recipe written out and make sure everything's easy to follow, the ingredients are good, and sometimes I'll make it a fourth time if I need to change a lot. But I'll do that throughout the week. I might make it for dinner at night, make it again for dinner another night, and then, or depending on what meal it is, and then on the weekends I'll make it again and photograph it.
Wow.
It's kind of all. It happens randomly. Like sometimes I'll make a recipe and 2 weeks later I finally get around to photographing it. Sometimes I'll do it all in one day because like I just posted a pesto recipe and that's just 5 ingredients and it's easy, so I did that all in one day. And then the writing, I kind of just find time to do that. I live with my boyfriend. He leaves for work by 5 a.m. every morning, so a lot of mornings I'll just stay up when he leaves for work, and I don't have to be to work till 9. So I'll spend an hour or two writing or editing photos and posting. So I don't have a complete, like a exact schedule. I don't like recipe test on Saturdays and write on Mondays or anything like that. I find the time when I can, and I do. Like this weekend I have a big event for work, and next weekend we have our whole festival that we do here at work. So I probably won't post a recipe next week, honestly, and I'm not going to stress about it, but I do post them when I can.
That's so good. You know what? And that comes back to just being like, you know what? This is not meant to stress me out. Like this is actually supposed to be my outlet. And the moment that it becomes not my outlet, then what the heck am I doing?
Yeah. And it would be different if I was making money and had clients. I would obviously have to have a deadline, but right now it's just my own thing.
Letting it be. Yeah. Oh man, I love it. What was my question? Oh, can I ask what camera was it?
Oh,
you can maybe get me the link later.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I've been thinking about No, it's okay. There's 50,000 million different. That's a number, actually. No, many different types of cameras, and I've been thinking about maybe figuring out. I mean, Black Friday, maybe I'll do that and get one. Yeah. But I would love to know which one that is.
Okay, so. I will let you know. I honestly, I told someone I had a Canon one time and it was a Nikon or the opposite. Like I'm so bad at remembering it, so I'll let you know for sure.
Cool. All right, and we'll link that in the show notes. Another random question. Do you know what your absolute most popular recipe has been?
For Pinterest, I haven't had a recipe go viral or anything, but I have an overnight oats recipe. It's just peanut butter banana that's gotten, I think, I don't know how many by now, but a lot more pins than normal. Mm-hmm. So that's probably my most popular so far. But it's really exciting. I try not to look or focus so much on my page views because I don't get a ton. Definitely not as many as I would love to have, but they're slowly getting better. I think just because I'm building more of a community and I'm trying to post more often. And so I used to have like just a couple people a day, and like I'm slowly getting like, even if I don't post a day, I'll get at least a handful. I don't know what a handful of people is, but at least a lot. Some people. Yeah.
I feel like we could be really good friends.
Yeah, I know.
because I'm not a huge numbers person. Like, yes, I can do the math, but the numbers don't motivate me. Mm-hmm. And I notice if I get too wrapped up into the numbers anxiety starts to well up, like, oh,
Oh
these
yeah.
matter. And I lose sight of why I'm doing it in the first place. And I
Yeah.
made it very clear in the beginning of starting this podcast that it was not about the numbers. It was not about how many people I got in my private Facebook group or how many people that I got listening to. It wasn't, if I could reach the people that it was meant to reach and they gained something out of it, I was going to be good. And I declared that. And
Yeah.
I've been, so I literally, you guys, I have no idea how many of you have listened to the podcast yet. My podcast editor does, because he gets to look at that stuff all the time. I have absolutely no idea. No, and I don't care. I really don't
that'll
care.
just stress you out.
Yeah, as long as I'm getting, some positive feedback each week, and people are continuing to listen to it based on, the engagement on my social or in the Facebook group, I'm good. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I feel like we could be friends.
Yeah, awesome. And I was checking my WordPress stats all the time, and like probably once a day, and getting really worked up about it because there weren't many. And then now that I haven't done that, I feel like I get more views.
Yeah.
and just having someone say, hey, I made this recipe and I loved it, or someone posting a picture of a recipe they made, that's way more worth the views.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. Okay. That's awesome. More power to you. Okay. So I want to ask just some fun questions for fun or whatever. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
Oh, well, I mentioned I studied abroad in Italy.
Yeah, Italy. Yes.
So I'd say I went all over. I went we would take weekend trips to different countries, but I think Italy was my favorite place that I went. I lived in Florence, so that has a special place in my heart. But I especially loved Venice and Cinque Terre, which was Cinque Terre means 5 lands, and it's 5 different islands along the coast. And the one we took a train to, the other one we hiked to, and it was just beautiful. And Google that.
Okay.
It's a beautiful place. But then Venice, I ended up going to 3 times because I liked it so much. So definitely, definitely cities in Italy.
Nice. What's your favorite way to learn? Do you like to listen, read, get your hands dirty? How do you learn best?
I like to read articles.
Mm-hmm.
I love the thought of reading a book, but I'm so bad at it.
Me too.
So I have a lot of books, and I think I love the covers, and I love the idea of sitting and reading it, and that doesn't happen. So I love shorter articles and blog posts and things like that. And I do love documentaries. I guess maybe not to learn as much related to my blog, but I mean, there's food documentaries and things like that. But I love listening and watching those.
Mm-hmm. Do you watch food documentaries? The ones on Netflix?
I've seen a couple of them. Yeah, I need to watch more.
I've watched a few, and I think anybody that's ever watched them will probably say the same thing. It's like you walk away from them just being like, wow, I've just lived my life so wrong for my entire life. And it's just overwhelming. Like, I don't even know where to start now because I do everything wrong.
And I especially like to see nutrition stuff because I didn't go to school for that. I'm kind of learning that. So I always make sure to say that when I'm giving advice for things. I always remind my readers, I'm no expert in this. I'm doing what's learned. I'm sharing my experience. But the more I can learn about nutrition and food, the better. So.
Yeah, and I like your perspective because you're a foodie, and that's what that's what your blog is. And this is just totally my opinion, but I continue to follow you because it's not necessarily about the nutrition, and it's really more about the food. And I identify as a foodie as well. Anybody that knows me knows that there's very few things in life that I think about more than food. So I appreciate that perspective. I like that. Okay, so let's see. I want to ask one more question before we head out. So you are still very much, I mean, we all are. We're still very much the girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, just trying to figure everything out, and figure out where to go next. But you started your blog a couple years ago. And when I would love for you to look back and tell me what advice you would give to yourself a couple years ago when you were just starting out this blog. What would you say to that girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, just, trying to see what this thing could be?
Sure. Actually, I think it's about a year and a half, so I haven't reached 2 years yet.
Okay.
But which doesn't matter. Just I wanted to clarify. But
Yeah.
I almost want to give myself advice related to like my perspective now. So like, don't focus on monetizing, and don't compare yourself to others, and just kind of focus on what's right for you. But at the same time, I don't think I would want to give myself that advice, because I've slowly learned, and I think that's part of the process.
Yeah.
So if I were to give myself advice, that would be it. Just how I feel now. Just don't think that you have to start out making money, and don't stress out over it just because you're not maybe where others are. But yeah, at the same time, I think the journey is what got me here. So I don't know if I'd want to have that advice.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would have
that's such
listened.
a good perspective. Yeah, just appreciating the journey, which, oh man, and the fact, I'm so happy that you just love your job.
Thank
Like,
you.
it's not, you're not holding your blog as just a blog because you don't think you can do it. It's because you genuinely love your job and you have other priorities at this season in your life, which is so inspiring, I know, to people that are listening that are in that limbo of deciding, like, do I push this forward or do I allow myself this season? And so thank you so much for bringing that perspective to the podcast.
And I do want to add, there's no problem with hustling and working hard, but it does depend on where you are in your life, and you kind of have to just step back and look at your priorities and what you have time for and what you'll lose if you really do work hard on like a blog or a business, and see really what's important to you.
Exactly. And that was so much Elizabeth's point too. It's not like it's not like someone's right and someone's wrong. Because I honestly, like, I'm in hustle mode. I'll continue to be in hustle mode probably for a while, just because that's the season I'm in. That's fine, right? But I know that that's not any better than what you're doing, and what you're doing isn't any better than what I'm doing. We are just in this. We are truly in this together, supporting one another.
Yeah,
through whatever those intentions are. So yes, awesome. Girl power, fist pump all day. All right, cool. So before we go, Ashley, can you tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Sure. My website is thesmalltownfoodie.com. So don't forget the. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as @smalltownfoodie. And then I'm also on Twitter. I'm not on there as much, but it's @smalltownfood. I had to cut it short without the foodie, but just smalltown food. I'm on Pinterest as well. So, and you can find links to all those at thesmalltownfoodie.com.
Perfect. We'll link all of that as we always do. Okay, so you heard our girls. Go check her out. Send her some love and hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from Ashley over the next few days. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too, and all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinganyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now. And leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.